If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another sewing tutorial. Today I am so happy to sew along with you the Alexandra handbag by Kaur threads. I am in love with this pattern. I must tell you, I have been hoarding some gorgeous turquoise leather for 2 years and I've decided that is going to be my next bag. Yeah, it's the perfect bag for this. Let me show you how amazing this is. So this pattern, there are two options. You can do this front as just a slip pocket if you wanted with a magnetic snap, but I strongly urge you or encourage you to do this option, and I'll show you why. So this flap is held together with a turn lock as well as 2 magnetic snaps, and you have a gusseted wallet section. On the flap side, you have 8 card slots and a large slip pocket for bills and receipts. On the opposite side, you have a zipper pocket and another large slip pocket. And look at this. So my phone is an iPhone 15 Max. So this is the largest iPhone you can get right now. Seriously. And when you do it up, you can't even tell it's in there. Perfect iPhone pocket. Perfect iPhone pocket. Not only that, on the back side, you have a zipper pocket, which you could definitely do 2 of these on either side, or the slip pocket option, or this option. You can make this bag completely your own. The bottom we have purse feet, a recessed zipper, as well as my lining. I did slightly different because I do all my linings the same, so I put in my usual zipper pocket with 2 slip pockets on the opposite side. Things I did different making this bag. The only thing I did different, and I do explain it in the tutorial, is the main stabilizer in this is Decovil Lite. And you fuse, you'll see when we get going, the main panels and the bottom, when you have them all sewn together, you fuse the Decovil Lite over top of all that. Now, I am a foam girl, and I have the hardest time fusing Decovil Lite and doing it through all those layers. I was really worried about this vinyl melting doing that, so I did not want to do that. So I actually used foam as my main stabilizer in this bag. Now I do have Decovil Lite in the side panels because I didn't know I was going to use foam to begin with. So my sides are extra sturdy because I do have the Decovil Lite out of the seam allowance here as well as foam. So I do show how I adjust it to do with foam rather than Decovil Lite, but in the tutorial I also show you when you would put that Decovil Lite on if that is your preference to do so. I also show you some tips and tricks on how to keep that foam nice and not too bulky within the seams. So I show you both options, Decovil Lite or foam, whichever you like. I did put Decovil Heavy in my flap here. Now, she does the same thing, but she slides it in. I actually just fused mine on outside of the seam allowances. Same with on the bottom. She used to sew in a Decovil Heavy or Peltex, but mine is fusible, so I just fused it where it said that we were going to be sewing it in, and it wasn't an issue at all. It was just easier for me to do it that way rather than, and I had fusible, so why not? My cotton pieces in this, I actually have backed with EB Fuse Medium, which is an Emmeline Bags product. It's similar to an 809, but it's woven. I use that for my card slots just because it gives the card slots an extra little bit of stiffness. You can definitely use SF101 or an EB Fuse Lite, like a medium woven interfacing in those pieces. I also used it because I am on an industrial machine and I need a little extra for my machine to grab onto. Again, I used Pretty in Pink Sew Foam as my main stabilizer in this. That is not part of the pattern. That is just a stabilizer I chose to use. Again, I explained both of them through there. Excuse me if my voice is going. I had laryngitis last week, so my voice may come and go throughout this tutorial. This vinyl I picked up, this is the vinyl that I picked up in Indonesia when I was there in 2022. So you can't get it anywhere in North America. It was, yeah, Can't even buy it online, but it was perfect for doing this bag. My waterproof canvas is the 400 Denier waterproof canvas from Sam Fabrics Creations, a Canadian shop. What else? Zippers and zipper pulls are from Blue Cala. All of my hardware is from Emmeline Bags. There's an option for the raw edge on here to have a turn tab or a raw edge tab. I show you how I do the raw edge tab, and I did use Giardini Edgepaint for all of my raw edges. So I used 3 coats of base coat, 1 coat of color, and 1 coat of protecting gloss. What else? I think that is everything with this. If at any point you do like this tutorial, please do give me a thumbs up or give me a comment down below. But I'm excited. How about we get to making this bag? We're going to need some rivets, number 5 zipper tape, 4 rectangular rings, 2 D-rings, a slider and 2 swivels, a turn lock, optional 4 strap ends, 4 number 5 zipper pulls, a zipper end, 2 magnetic snaps, 5 purse feet, and your nameplate. I will be doing some edge coating, so I'll use 3 coats of base coat, 1 coat of color, and 1 of protecting gloss. You need your front zipper pocket lining piece, your 2 exterior side pieces with Decovil Lite outside of the seam allowances, your bottom piece with Decovil Heavy as per the pattern, your flap pieces with Decovil Heavy outside of the seam allowances on the exterior, your card slot pieces, your lining zipper pocket pieces, your back zipper pocket lining piece, your turn lock pieces here for the tabs, your back main piece, 4 rectangular ring connector pieces, 2 D-ring connectors, center panel, your front slip pocket pieces, your interior slip pocket pieces, 2 gusset pieces, your 2 exterior and 2 lining zipper panel pieces, as well as your lining top panel pieces, your 2 main lining pieces, 2 handle pieces, crossbody strap, 2 exterior front side panel pieces, and your Decovil Lite if you're using that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my crossbody strap and my 2 handles off camera. If you need a class on how to do that, it's down below in the description. Okay, so for my turn lock piece, I have fused on my Decovil Heavy piece as per the pattern. I am going to put some double-sided tape on the wrong side of our shaped piece and put it nice and centered on our scrap piece here. These are wrong sides together, and we are going to sew around here with an 1/8 of an inch top stitch, and this is going to bring our pieces together. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim these using the shaped piece I already cut out as my guide and make this a nice and even edge. And this is going to give us a wonderful edge to go ahead and edge paint. Now I'm going to go ahead and edge paint these. If you need a class on how to do that, it's down below in the description. Okay, so now we are going to do our zipper pocket on our main front center pocket piece. So you're going to take your lining piece, mark your top and bottom centers of both of these. I have already drawn my rectangular shape on the back of my lining piece as per the pattern. So go ahead and get those measurements from there. Make sure you put top and bottom on it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to measure up as per what the pattern states, and you're going to place the bottom of the lining piece along that measurement. So these are right sides together. Use a couple pins to hold that in place.
So again, this is our front center panel and our lining piece. Go ahead and sew around that rectangle that we had drawn as per the pattern. Now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting along that center line, not quite to the V's, and then go back in with your V's, or go in with your scissors to the V's, cutting as close as you can to the stitching without cutting that stitching. Once you have that, you're going to stuff that lining piece in through that opening and bring these two pieces wrong sides together, making sure to press out those seams really nice, and then take it to the iron and give it a super good press. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to take my zipper and I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape. You could definitely use pins here if you wanted, but I like to use tape. I'm going to put them on the lining side of that rectangular opening. I'm going to take my zipper pull, make sure it is going to closing to the left, take off the paper from the top tape, and then stick it down nice and centered. Once you're happy with the placement there, go ahead and do the same with the bottom part of the zipper and that opening. Then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch around that rectangle. Now you're going to see me pulling my threads long and tying them off in the back here. If you don't do that, please make sure you backstitch at your start and your stop. That the zipper's in place, we can go ahead and we can fold the lining piece down like so, matching up the bottoms of that pocket there. Hold it with a few clips. And then we're going to go ahead and sew just the lining side of our zipper pocket. Make sure you're folding that exterior center panel out of the way. And we're going to sew along these three sides. Zipper pocket is all closed, we can go up and just trim up that seam allowance and trim away the excess zipper tape. Now we're going to take our slip pocket piece, so this is the front slip pocket piece, and we're going to fold it right sides together in half like so. Make sure you have it orientated the right way. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to sew across that top line like so. And then turn this tube right side out and give it a good press. Then we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch the two finished edges. Once you've finished doing that, you're going to measure up from the accent piece as per the pattern, line up the raw edges of the slip pocket piece as well as the center front piece, and then go ahead and baste that in place along the sides and top stitch along the bottom, and that'll make our slip pocket. So top stitch down this side, pivot, top stitch across the bottom, sorry, baste up that one side, top stitch across the bottom, and then baste up the opposite side, and that'll complete our pocket, slip pocket. We have a functional zipper pocket as well as our slip pocket complete. Okay, so now you're going to make the marks on the back of your card slot piece as per the pattern. You're going to fold to that second line, wrong sides together, and bring it up to the first line like so. Hold it with some clips. Go to the next line and down and bring it up to that next line like so. Hold it with clips. Go down. Again, they're all labeled in the pattern, so make sure you follow the patterns. Bring it up like so. This is the easiest way to make card slots, I swear. Once you have this all folded wrong sides together as per the pattern measurements, you will take it to your iron and you are going to give these a really, really good press. Now that these are all pressed, I'm just going to make sure it's the same size as my card back panel, which it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to top stitch along the folded sides, or the folded accordion wallet card slots, as well as I'm going to sew up a center line to split these into 8, and then baste up the sides. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to all the folded edges, I am going to top stitch, making sure you are folding those, the ones that are already done, down and out of the way so you're not sewing through them. So that is one done there. I'm going to fold it over and under so I can go to the next one, and so on and so forth. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put everything back into their accordion state, and I'm going to baste down the sides to hold the card slots in place. After that, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch up that center line I drew. I like to do it twice just to make it extra strong so the threads won't snap. So I go up, I turn and pivot, and I go back down the same line, and that completes the first part of our card slot section. Next, what we're going to do is take our card slot back after we make sure our cards do go in nicely, and they do. We're going to put these right sides together. We're going to clip across the top and the sides, and we are going to leave about a 4 to 5 inch opening along the bottom for turning this out. So the sides are all clipped together, and I'm just going to make a mark to remind myself that I'm keeping this part open, and I'm going to go ahead and sew from that first mark that I made, back stitching all the way around, and then completing and back stitching at the last mark. Do is we are going to trim off those corners close to the threads as we can without cutting it to get nice sharp corners, but do not trim your seam allowances along that bottom opening edge, just along the 3 finished edges. And then once you're done that, you can go ahead and you can turn this right side out, poking out all 4 of those corners so they're nice and pointy and sharp. It's nice. Then you can fold in those raw edges, give it a good press. This will be sewn shut here momentarily. But it helps to give this a really, really good press just to hold them in place. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and I've already gone ahead and top stitched that top seam there. I'm going to once again go ahead and see if my cards fit, and they do. Now we're going to take our flap pieces. You're going to take your lining flap piece. You're going to find the top and bottom center. And same with the exterior piece. And you're going to use your pattern piece for the magnetic snap placement on the lining side. So on the wrong side, I am going to just make a mark. I've already put a little hole in the pattern piece, so I can just take my pen and go through that hole. And this is where we are going to install the male side of our magnetic snaps, backed with small scraps of Decovil Heavy for extra security. I've gone ahead and done that, and I like to put some duct tape on the back of that. Now we're going to do our put the card slots onto this piece. So I like to use a little bit of double-sided tape on the bottom of this. You can use pins if you prefer. You're going to measure up from the straight edge of that flap lining piece as per the pattern measurements. And you're going to place the card slots nice and centered at that mark. Double check that it's centered, adjust if you need to. Once you have that nice and centered, what you're going to do is you are going to top stitch down this side and across the bottom, which will close off the bottom as well as up the opposite side. Do not stitch across the top or you will close up that slip pocket, which we want to remain open. Double check again that your cards will fit, and they do. And next we're going to work on the gussets. So you're going to take your gusset pieces, fold them in half like so, with the short raw edges together. And then go ahead and sew across that clipped side. Once that is done, go ahead and turn these tubes right side out and give them a good press. And then you're going to go ahead and you will top stitch the two finished edges, as well as baste the raw edges shut on both. Next, you are going to measure up as per the pattern measurements where the placement of the raw edge of your gussets are. So check your pattern for that measurement, line up that raw edge and hold it in place with clips. Do the exact same thing on the opposite side. So your finished edges will be the top and the bottom of these gussets, and the ones that are going vertical will be the raw edges. Go ahead and baste those in place. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to take my tab here nice and centered on my exterior piece, and I'm going to baste that right sides together with my exterior piece as well. Definitely make sure this one is nice and centered. Okay, so once again, I've got to put my nameplate on the flap as well. We've got the flap pieces all ready to go. Put these right sides together, matching up that top center. Clip it in place. Once you have that all clipped together, we're going to go all the way around here as per the pattern and its seam allowance, and do not sew that bottom straight edge shut. Just go around the curvy parts. Now that that's done, I'm going to just take my pinky shears and I am going to trim this up, especially around those curves, so we can get a really nice shape for this flap. I really need to get some new pinky shears. Mine are so dull. Once you're done that, you can go ahead and you can turn this right side out. So it's at this point, if you didn't use a fusible piece of Decovil Heavy like I have, you would, once you get this turned out, you would go ahead and you would slide in your non-fused piece of Decovil Heavy or Peltex. But because I used one that could be fused, I already fused it on, so I don't have to do that step. Make sure you press all of these seams out. So you want to get a really, really nice shape, because this is the accent focal feature of this bag. This is my favorite part of this bag. Okay, so once you're done that, you're going to fold in the gusset sides like so. You're going to hold them in place with some clips so they are facing towards the center, towards the inside of the flat piece. And then we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch this with 2 lines of top stitching. So you're going to go around with 1/8 of an inch and then with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. You can also go ahead and you can baste the bottom shut like you see me doing right here. Now that that's done, what you're going to do is you're going to put your accent piece and your flat piece both right sides up. You are going to line up the raw edge of one accent piece with that front center panel that has the slip pocket on it. Line the bottom of the gusset up with the bottom of the slip pocket, hold it in place, and go ahead and baste that in place. This is what that looks like. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to take our side exterior panel and put it right sides together over top of that seam that we had just sewn. And then as per the pattern seam allowance, you're going to go ahead and sew across there and then top stitch it with the seam going towards the side panel through the side panel. So that's one side done. You're going to repeat the exact same thing with the opposite side and the opposite side panel. This is what that looks like. Now you're going to go ahead and install your male side of your turn lock nice and centered on that tab piece. I cut my finger, ouchie. Anyways, there it is all installed. This is what that looks like so far. Now we're going to go ahead and take our top panel pieces. This is our exterior top panel pieces. Find your top and bottom centers along the long sides of both pieces. We're going to, I do my connectors just slightly different here for my hidden connectors. I'm just going to use the pattern piece to draw that line as per the pattern piece. I just draw one straight line and then I make sure it measures 1 inch. So I'm just using my Tandy leather pen to draw those 1-inch lines as per the pattern piece placements on both of these panels. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to slice into my fabric like so. This has to be a non-fraying fabric. Make sure you've marked the top on the back side and then cut just 1 inch. You do not want it to be more than 1 inch. It's better to be a little tight than a little bit too big. Okay, now we're going to take that piece, match at the bottom of that top panel with the center of our front pocket piece like so. Your flap is going to kind of hang out of the way. And then you're going to go ahead and sew through there with the seam allowance as per the pattern. Through here, then you'll fold it up and with the seam pointing towards the top panel, and you will top stitch it through the top panel. Okay, so this is that all done. Now you can go ahead and match up the centers of the flap piece and the center of that main back panel there, or the main front panel, and you can baste the flap nice and centered in place. There you go, that's that front panel done. She looks great. We will install the rest of the hardware later. Now we're going to go ahead and as per the pattern measurements, you're going to go ahead and mark the placement of your purse feet. I just like to do a little dot. Nice one right in the center here, and then same with the opposite side. All of the measurements are in the pattern. If you need a class on how to install purse feet, it is down below in the description. Purse feet are done. Now we can take that front panel that we finished, put the base right sides together like this, matching up that center, clip it in place, and then you will sew along this as per the pattern seam allowance. Right across here. And then once that's done, you will be pushing the seam allowance towards the base and top stitching through the base to hold that seam in place. That is what that looks like all done. She looks great. Go ahead and set this aside for now. Now we're going to work on our back panel. So you're going to take your back zipper pocket lining piece. I'm going to use some double-sided tape here. Feel free to use clips if you prefer. On my main back panel, I'm going to put double-sided tape along one of the long edges like so. I'm going to take my zipper tape with my pull facing to the left and put these right sides together, sticking it in place. Then I'm going to take my lining panel, also right sides up, and I'm going to put more double-sided tape along the top, and then put this right sides together with that exterior piece so it's sticking to the wrong side of the zipper tape, sandwiching that zipper tape. And we're going to go ahead and sew through here. So I'm going to put on my right zipper foot so I can get a nice and even seam allowance along that zipper tape so my zipper will not be wavy. So your right zipper foot definitely helps have a non-wavy zipper. So go ahead and sew across that seam. Now what we want to do is bring these two panels wrong sides together like so, pulling them nice and tight, and we're going to top stitch right through here through all the layers. Next, what we're going to do is take the lining piece. I'm going to use more double-sided tape. Again, use clips if you like. And on the right side of the bottom piece, we're going to put the tape, and we are going to fold this right sides together, matching up the edge of the lining piece with the unsewn side of the zipper. So they are, the lining piece is right sides together with the wrong side of the zipper piece. Now I'm going to take my other top piece that we did the slits in, make sure we're putting the bottom of that nice and centered along the zipper tape, right sides together like so. And then once again, with our zipper foot on, we're going to go and sew these together, and then we will fold our top piece up and top stitch the seam allowance in place through the top panel. Okay, so that is all done there. You can go ahead and trim off any extra zipper tape or fabric you have off at the sides. They should be nice and even with one another. And then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to baste that all down the side to close up the pocket, which we have done. And you should have a functioning zipper pocket. Now we're going to take that back piece and we're going to put it along the other side of the base piece and do exactly like we did with the front piece. You can see how we're coming together here. Now we're going to take our side panels and we are going to measure a little 3/8 of an inch square on the bottom of these side panels, and we are going to clip those squares away. Go ahead and do that with the other three, and this is what that looks like. Now this is where I switched out the interfacing. So if you're using Decovil Lite, you'll go ahead and you will fuse this on like so outside of the seam allowances. Again, I'm not a Decovil Lite fan myself, so I've opted to go ahead and use foam. So if you're going to use foam, I'm going to show you a few tricks of how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm putting the Decovil Lite away, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to take my main body piece and I'm going to put it on top of the foam. And I'm going to cut my foam just slightly bigger than this piece and hold it with clips. And I'm going to baste the foam on all the way around as well as with my two side pieces. Now I'm also going to keep foam cut out of the top and bottom corners of all of these pieces, just like so. And that is just going to help us reduce some bulk when we go to do the final sew. So just trust me, you do not want the foam in those corners. Now I'd cut my foam just slightly bigger so I can kind of pull it away from the vinyl like this, put my scissors on an angle like this, and I can make that foam nice and thin so we do not have too much bulk in that. This is a handy trick to do when you are working with foam. Now we're going to do our side pieces and work on our crossbody connectors. You're going to take your 2 connector pieces, have a center line drawn into the middle, and fold the long sides into that center. I am now going to take a little bit of double-sided tape, take my D-ring and fold it about 2/3 of the way down, wrong sides together, and then fold up that bottom piece. On my side pieces on top, I'm going to cut my center. You could also do the bottom centers here if you like. I'm going to put a small piece of double-sided tape on the wrong side of my connector and measure down as per the pattern piece, nice and centered on that top, from the top of the side connectors, and that is where you are going to line up the top of your vinyl of your connector like so. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to top stitch this in place all the way around for both pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm putting on my left zipper foot. My left zipper foot helps me get nice and close to that hardware, which we definitely want to do. It just makes it a lot easier. I love switching out my feet. It makes my job so much easier. So trust me, take the extra time to do it and your life will just be, you'll thank me, trust me. So once again, I'm going to pull my threads long and tie them off. If you aren't doing that, make sure you backstitch well. Done, I went ahead and I put in rivets backed with little scraps of Decovil Heavy just for extra security. Okay, so now we're going to work on our 4 rectangular ring hidden connectors. So just like our crossbody strap ones, we're going to put some double-sided tape on and fold the long sides into that center line. Go ahead and top stitch down all of the folded edges, which we have done. Now this is the slits. Now I do this slightly different than the pattern. So those slits that we cut, I'm just going to cut into them like so. Because I've used foam, if you've done Decovil Lite, you shouldn't have to do this. But you want to cut just the foam away from where we have those little slits. So just like 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so. This doesn't have to be neat and tidy. You just want to expose that 1 inch slit that we cut into these top panels in all 4 sections. Now we're going to find the center of the wrong side of our connector piece and mark that. So we're going to have our connector piece and our exterior piece in one of the slits right sides together, and you're going to slide this into that slit down to that line we marked up and over the foam like so. So you should have the wrong side of the connector up like so, and then above that slit you're going to go ahead and just through the connector you're going to sew through there without sewing shut the slit. You're only sewing through the connector and the main panel. So I still have that left zipper foot on, and that just really helps to be able to see where I am sewing. So again, I'm just sewing through the connector above the slit that we did. Do not go past the connector with sewing because you don't want the thread to show on the opposite sides for this hidden connector. So if you've done that right, you should be able to still see your slit. I can slip my finger through there and it's stitched here. It's nice and secure. Now take your rectangular ring, loop it through, and then take the other end of the connector and slide it through that slit. And this will kind of, because it's nice and tight, fold that vinyl under and kind of hide the raw edge. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch that in place. So again, you can go ahead and pull your threads long. I chose to do a back stitch here just because I want to make sure it is nice and secure, but you could pull your threads back. But yes, go just along that fold, along that slit, and that is one hidden connector complete. You'll go ahead and you'll do the exact same thing with the other 3 connectors. I do have a more detailed tutorial down in the Bagmakers Basics playlist down below if you want a more detailed tutorial on how I do hidden connectors. So once that's done, I've gone ahead and I've put some rivets in, backed with some Decovil Heavy pieces for security, and you can trim those connectors off in the back like so. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to install our female side of our magnetic snaps. Now the way I like to do the placement is I just take some removable pen and put it on the little nubbins of the male snaps and push it down where they will be going, and you can they'll leave a mark on the fabric there, and that is going to give you perfect placement for the female side of the snaps so they will line up. So go ahead and install the female sides of your magnetic snaps backed with your Decovil Heavy pieces. So that is done. Again, I like to put some duct tape on the back of the prongs, and it is nice and secure. Now for the male side of our turn lock, I am going to use my eyes and find the center of the hole of my female side of my turn lock when it's closed. And that is going to mark the center of where we're going to go and install the male side. So go ahead and install that. Make sure it matches up, which it does. I have mine backed with Decovil Heavy and duct tape. And that is the main front, bottom, and back panels complete and completely functional using foam. Okay, so now you will want the centers of your side bottom pieces marked, as well as the centers of your side panels marked. Now this is something new that I learned. This is a lot of fun. So you're going to line the side panels up nice and even with the top. Now you're going to notice the side panel comes what looks like into the bottom. That is exactly what we want, because the bottom is also going to be a nice accent along the front and back main panels. You'll see what I mean here. So go ahead and clip that in place along this one side. You will do the same with the other side panel on the opposite side of the front panel, lining up the top so it's nice and straight. And again, it is going to overlap that bottom piece. Then you're going to use the seam allowance as stated in the pattern, and you are going to sew down these seams just to where that 3/8 of an inch cutout box is. Don't go past that. So that is done. Now you're going to do the exact same thing with the opposite side. Oh, first, I like to do this. I like to cut into my seam allowance so I can put my top seam here nice and flat. I just cut like about 1 inch down just before the seam allowance, and then I baste those seams open. That's optional if you want to do that. Repeat the exact same thing with the opposite sides, leaving the bottoms of the sides unsewn. And this is what that looks like. Now, where we have those little cutouts of that 3/8 box on the side, you're going to cut into the main panels to just before there. You don't want to go too deep. You just want to go to just before that 3/8 box. And what that is going to do is it's going to make it so the bottom of our main panels can go nice and flat, and we have a nice edge to edge to sew right along here. So it's almost like it created another 3/8 box on that bottom main panel. So we can go ahead and sew from stitching to stitching. So you'll start where our stitching ended on the side, and so across the bottom of those side panels to the opposite side, making sure you catch all of those slits so there are no raw edges. So this is what that looks like. Look how nice and square that is. It was such a new technique I have never done before. So you can go ahead and you can trim up these seam allowances a little bit to reduce some of that bulk. And once you're all done that, you can go ahead and you can turn this right side out. Now you're gonna see me struggle turning it out, but you have to remember that I also had Decovil Lite already fused on my side pieces, and I'm using a fairly thick vinyl, so it just took me a moment to turn this out. Now, if you did your corners right, you should get this beautiful Y-shaped seam at the bottom of each of the corners, and mine turned out really good. Loved learning this new technique, and I just love how that base piece comes up and almost looks like an accent on the front and back panels. It's just gorgeous. Now we're going to work on our zipper panels. Now I do this slightly different than the pattern. It's similar but different, but this is my preferred way of doing my zipper panels. So on the back of our lining and our exterior zipper panels, we're going to draw a 3/4 of an inch line from the short ends. I'm going to use double-sided tape and fold that short end into that line, so it's a 3/8 of an inch folded in all the way around. I did that on all my pieces, making sure they're all the same size, which they are. Now I'm going to take my number 5 tape, and I like to make my tape about double the size of my zipper panel. And I'm going to cut my tape. On the right side, or on the right hand side, wrong side of my zipper tape, I'm going to go ahead and put a 1-inch line, and that is the line I will line up later on when I go to put my zipper pull on at the end. Flip the right side back up, and on the opposite end, we are going to take each side of the zipper tape and fold it down by, I believe that's 90 degrees, upon itself, and hold it with some pins. Do the same with the opposite side, getting them as even as you possibly can. And then you'll take these to the machine and you will baste those in place right along here and here. So that's what that looks like. You can go ahead and you can trim off the excess zipper tape in those wings there, and then pull your zipper tape apart. Okay, so now we're going to take our 2 lining pieces. On one of the lining pieces, we're going to measure in 1/4 of an inch from the left-hand side, and on the other side, 1/4 of an inch from the right-hand side. Now, both of these are right side up. You can use clips here as well, but you know me, I like my double-sided tape, so I'm going to use double-sided tape from those 1/4 of an inch mark all the way to the opposite side with the lining pieces right side up. Same with the other one, starting or stopping at the 1/4 of an inch mark that we made. Then you're going to take your zipper tape also right side up. So you're going to take our first one right side up where the curvy part is going to the left and stick it on here like so. Right at that 1/4 of an inch line is where you want that curvy side to match up. Stick it all the way across. Do the same with the other side, except for it'll be right side up and facing the opposite direction, starting at that 1/4 of an inch line that we did. Then we're going to take our exterior pieces, put some tape or clips, you can decide, all the way across both pieces. And then we're going to stick these right sides together, sandwiching that zipper tape, making sure our panels are nice and even. And then we're going to put on our right zipper foot once again, and we are going to sew across here as per the seam allowance for both pieces. Next, we're going to fold these nice and tight away from our zipper teeth, wrong sides together, and hold with clips. And then we're going to baste the bottom raw edge and top stitch the two short edges as well as the long edge across the zipper for both of our zipper panels. Then make sure they're still even, and they are. Now along the raw edge of the zipper panel, we want to make a snip or a mark where our center is. So just fold these in half, matching up the folded in edges, and make your snips. And once again, make sure they're still even and their center is even. Now I've already gone and done my lining pockets as I do in all of my bags. I do them always the same. Leave the zipper pocket open for turning. If you need a class for how to do that, I have that down below in the description. Okay, so now I'm going to take my back lining piece right side up and my zipper panel right side up as well, with the curvy side going to the left, and clip that in place. Now I'm going to take my top lining panel, find my top and bottom centers, and I'm going to put this right sides together with that, adding it into the clips, sandwiching the zipper panel. So the zipper panel and the lining piece are both right side up, and this top lining piece is a right side down. Then you're going to sew across this as per the seam allowance stated in the pattern. You'll do the same with the opposite side, but the curvy side will go to the right. And then once this is done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip all of this up, including the zipper panel, and top stitch that seam pointing towards the lining panel through the lining panel. That's what these look like complete. Make sure they're nice and even, and if they are, go ahead and put these right sides together, matching up your seam where your top lining panel and your bottom lining panel match up, so you have a nice and seamless line there, and clip together down just the sides. We're going to leave the bottom completely unsewn for now. Make sure you put your zipper tails inside so they're not getting caught in the seam. Match up the seam on the opposite side and clip in place. Now what we're going to do, so our seam or our lining isn't baggy inside, is up until about here, we're going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're going to branch out into a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. That makes our lining just slightly smaller on the inside of the bag, but keeps the circumference at the top the same as our exterior for when we do the final construction of this bag. So once again, I'm 3/8 of an inch here. Then when I get about 1.5 inches or so down, I'm going to branch out into a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way down each side. And we have not sewn the bottom. We have that open. This is what our seams look like. I'm going to do my little trick here to open up my side seams here. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just what I like to do. I just find it makes it so it's a lot less bulky there when I go to top stitch. Once I have both of those done, I can go ahead and I can trim up my seam allowance to about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. Again, the bottom is left unsewn. She looks good. It all matches up. Now we're going to take our exterior and I'm going to make sure my zipper pocket is at the back because that is where I like my lining zipper pocket to be. We're going to put these right sides together like so. And we are going to match up our 4 quarter section centers, starting with one of the long sides. Match up your lining and your exterior center. Push your hardware and your zipper panels down so you don't accidentally sew through those, because you do not want to break a needle and do that. Match up that first center, the center along the other side. And then you're going to match the center of the sides, clip in place, and the center of the other sides. Oops, my clips fell off here. I find it really easy to clip the centers of the quarter sections, and then you just evenly distribute the fabric in between the quarter sections. Nice and easy, clipping everything in place. I like to use a lot of clips. I just don't like things to slide, so do not be shy of clips here. Once it's all clipped in place, now if you're on a flatbed, you can definitely go ahead and sew from the inside of the bag. If you're on a free arm or a cylinder arm like me, you can definitely go ahead and do as I am showing here. So go ahead and sew around here as per the seam allowance stated in the pattern. That's done, you've checked everything was caught. Go ahead and turn this right side out easily through that fully open bottom. Make sure your seam looks good, which it does. If you're happy with that, go ahead and stuff the lining inside. Make sure your lining is pulled nice and tight, and finger press that top seam, pushing the zipper panel and the lining top panel down inside, making sure your zipper tails are out of the way, and clip around that seam, preparing for top stitching. Now, once again, I am on a cylinder arm, or if you're on a free arm, you can go ahead and top stitch this just like I'm going to do. If you're on a flatbed, you can either top stitch this from the inside to make it nice and easy, or you could have turned your whole bag inside out and top stitch from the inside as well. So do whatever works for you and go ahead and top stitch all the way around. Now that that's done and it all looks good, we can go ahead and finish off the bottom. So you're going to pull your zipper lining pocket that has the opening out through the bottom. You're going to grab the entire lining and pull it through that zipper pocket. You're going to match up the center of the bottom edge of our lining, and we are just going to sew across this straight edge with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do not do anything with the corners just yet. We will box those after we have this all sewn up. Now that that's sewn, we can box these corners. So bring the bottom and the side seams and nest them together like so. Hold with some clips. You'll do this for the opposite side, and then we will go ahead and we will sew these box corners shut with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance as well. So that is the bottom sealed up. Push that back in through that zipper pocket, make sure everything was caught, and then fold in the raw edges of your zipper pocket piece. Hold with clips and then go ahead and top stitch your zipper pocket shut. Push your zipper pocket back in through that opening. Make sure everything looks good and everything is laying flat. And then you can go ahead and you can install your zipper pull, your zipper end, and your handles. So this is what it looks like with everything installed. She looks great. This pocket works awesome. I still just love this wallet piece at the front. Everything works well. My zipper end is on. Pat yourself on the back. You have done an amazing job. This is such a great pattern. Thank you again, Sandeep. And then we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. Wasn't that fun? So again, this would probably take you a day to do if you're going to sew straight through. It is a little bit of a longer sew, but it is so incredibly worth it. This is also the bag we did in the November 2023 sew along classes. So depending when you're watching this, this may be available to the classes may be available to the public side, or else it's still on the membership side. So if you wanted to slow down lessons on how to sew this, definitely check out the membership side of the channel. There could be other bags that interest you there too, so I strongly encourage you to check that out. Yeah. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If at any time you liked this video, please do give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and if you'd like to support my channel further, you could always buy me a coffee. That is all linked down below. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.